everybody, my name is Markiplier, and it's time for another episode of Five Nights at Freddy's. No, wait, that's not right. It's late. We're filming this because we have a hole in the schedule, and I've got a hole in my heart that can only be filled with a powerful second wave of support. It's been a while since I've delved into the trough of slop and thrown up a tier list, but I came up with one that I would really like to explore. Today, we're going to be taking a look at every single Tcg-Exclusive Archetype, and I'll be rating them on a score from S, which stands for super good, to D, which stands for not very good. We're going to be going through all of the Tcg-Exclusive Archetypes released since Yu-Gi-Oh's inception, and we'll be rating them relative to their associated format. So, like, don't get surprised when Burning Abyss is really high, despite the fact that no matter what Farfa says, it sucks ass at present. First up is Ashen. More like ass-shinned. More like ass shit. More like garbage. Man, this one was really sad because the art is really beautiful. The theming is wonderful. Like, everyone liked this, like, Dark Souls kind of the last flame sort of setup they were going for. And the cards were quite strong. Like, if they had something to do, they've got all the right text on them. People played Vidos as like an anti-field spell hand trap for a little bit. Very promising first wave, doomed by a second wave that did dick fuck nothing. They've gotten the court-ordered one piece of legacy support a couple of sets later, but it was nowhere near sufficient in order to make it anything resembling playable. It's crazy. I think we've started with the literal worst of all time. Next up is B-Trooper. I'm putting this in B for B-Trooper. B-Trooper was a lot of things. A new series of cards in a combo deck that did have legs. Like, there are a ton of just random pieces of insect support we've gotten over the last 15 years that facilitate a combo deck. And credit where it's due, the big issue with that strategy is that it has nowhere to go, and the B-Troopers did give you somewhere to go. That somewhere was just towers, which is kind of boring. I know the B-Trooper smacks of a C-tier archetype, but it also has tops under its belt. Courtesy basically exactly of Herman Hansen using them to make Verti Anaconda and DPE. That's still something. Shouts out to people who prognosticated that this was a TCG exclusive because it could never be released in the OCG where Maxi was legal and this deck could get it with relative consistency, only for it to then be released in the OCG and do absolutely nothing, while another deck, Sprite, was actively adding Maxi to hand over the course of a long combo. Plunder Patrol's an A for me. I'm totally biased when it comes to Plunder Patrol. I think this deck is really, really cool. It operates on an axis that a bunch of decks are totally unprepared to operate. The flavor of this thing is just fantastic. The individual Plunder Patrol monsters crew their associated ships. Getting the light ship was a huge breath of life into this archetype. Then getting the earth ship was also really good. This deck's got a ton of tops under its belt, mostly by the same guy over and over again, and it's not hard to see why. It is a damn cool deck to play. I'd also like to give a specific shout out to Plunder Patrol for having one of the best second waves of support of any TCG archetype ever. Whitebeard. Next up is Burning Abyss. We're putting that in S. No surprise here. Burning Abyss totally saved us in terms of having a boring ass format. Probably one of the first decks ever that could consistently OTK from almost any position. Also fundamentally changed how we think about Yu-Gi-Oh! Prior to its release, a combo deck still played a lot of defensive traps in order to, like, beat back opponents' individual linear plays. You see early Burning Abyss decks with, like, these annoying ass long-term advantage grinders like Supply Squad. Once people got their shit together, they realized, oh, I need to be going every turn. And BA has had some of the best longevity of any archetype ever. Since release to, like, 2016, it was playable, tiered meta contention the entire time. And since then, there have been periods when it's been part of a different combo deck. People played Cherubini and, like, one Graph and a Seer for a long time in big slop piles. It's fallen off of late. I think we can all be realistic about the fact that it is no longer as devilish as it was in the past. But I think you can make an argument that this is the greatest TCG deck of all time. Really set the standard for what a TCG deck can do. Throw in Goatee and C. It's a little upsetting to have to say this. I wish it was higher up, but I think C is kind of the perfect place for this. First off, the fish live in the sea. Second off, man, they just didn't do enough. What's frustrating to me is that, like, from a linear perspective, these cards don't have a thing their archetypal cards enable them to do. Like, there's no Goatee starter. The starter is a free agent from a different set, right? And in terms of flexibility, there's not, like, a lot they get to do anyway. Like, you're always making Ariana Beyond Pos, you're always making Oscon, you're always making Deep Beyond. And while we're on the subject of Deep Beyond, it is so bad. It's like a big flashy final boss, but it has a couple of really frustrating things that doom it to unplayability. I don't know. Next up is Subtar. Damn, this one is hard to place. I'm going to put Subtar in C as well. Now, the frustrating part about Subtar is that you're looking at Guru, I'm sure, and you remember that Guru is a really fucking crazy card. It's responsible for a deck that was tiered for like, I don't know, like 18 months, and was often unplayable during TOS, an extremely high-powered and beloved format. But Guru is not a TCG exclusive. Guru is the court-ordered extra card printed for the archetype a couple of years after it released. Subterror, off the back of like Nemesis Warrior, never did anything. Archetype of cards that did something interesting, like flip monsters, are cool, I suppose. They had a little stint of playability in Duel Links, if I'm not mistaken, but a real wet fart of an archetype throughout their entire reign. Like, until the print of Guru, they quite literally did not a goddamn thing. Then once we got Guru, the deck was good, but was also Set 5 Back Row Pass Turbo. I'm putting Gold Pride in C as well. Gold Pride is such an interesting series of cards, and it did hit a sweet spot and top a little bit in its associated format. But it topped during its associated format because of its interactions with the Punk cards, which are individually powerful. Its lasting legacy is it's a series of cards that enable Punk cards, cards that already perform nuclear fusion on their own, do nothing if you do not draw the cards that put you lower in life points, and maybe add a little bit of layered interaction to an end board because you can start your engines. That's like fine, that's okay, but it is really frustrating to be like, yeah, this archetype is this weird tumor on the side of another totally normal conceptualized archetype. So Cosmo is S. We were putting it there because of Star Wars. This deck was so cool. It was just unbelievable. $125 for Dark Destroyers at release. For any of you who are familiar with this strategy, I probably don't have to tell you too much about it, but I will anyway to fill up time and get ad revenue. Cosmo debuted the weekend of an ARG, and at this ARG, all of the pros basically independently found out that these cards were busted. This was First Wave, Farm Girl, and Forerunner. No Dark Destroyer needed, but they were all jamming this deck that was like cleaning Nekroz clock by going like Farm Girl, Damage Step, Honest, Dome you for a trillion. And things only got crazier from there. Dark Destroyer is such an unbelievable card, either as an end board piece because it's so difficult to remove, or even as a combo starter because it pops things. E-Telly, oh, E-Telly was so crazy at the time. Remember E-Telly for Tin Can, activate Tin Can, resolve the effect of Tin Can effect to banish so it doesn't get destroyed by the effect of E-Telly, fuck! Go to the battle phase, E-Telly on a blank board for Farm Girl was an OTK. Oh! Unfortunately, in its associated format, the like NAWCQ format that had Monarch, Cosmo, Burning Abyss, and like Pepe, this is definitely the deck that got the worst as people figured out how to play against it. There were a couple of competing builds that like maybe did things a little bit differently, but didn't resolve any of the outstanding problems with a deck that was largely a bricky mess. The legacy of this deck is that it was powerful during a very specific period in time, but it's also that it is really funny in YouTube wombo combo decks. Just like popping these guys to float with like pendulum scales. Cosmo Metal Foes, who remembers. Kaijus. Oh my god, how do I rate these? I'm gonna put them in B. The reason I'm putting them in B is because Kaiju as a deck is dog shit. I tried a lot to make Kaiju work, pairing it with individual normal summonable monsters. I remember I had a decent time with Kaiju Ninja on First Wave release, but nothing ever came of it, mostly because all the Kaiju say you can only have one Kaiju, and that's kind of a recipe for disaster. But Kaijus are kind of S tier in terms of removal spells. To this day, there's nothing that really cleanly outs big tower monsters as effectively as these guys. The only things that come close are other monsters that perform the same summoning condition as these ones. So, I don't know. I guess I would say S tier for removal, D tier for their own archetype, averages out to B tier. Next up is Libromancer. I am also putting this in C tier. So, Libromancer's a little interesting in that it does have some tops. There are some people who included it in part of a big deck that just did everything, and it's fine. It's okay at that. I took it to the first YCS back after COVID. I got on camera and got absolutely body blasted. I bricked game 3 and tried to draw out my opponent under a Mystic Mine game 2. But there were some people who saw success with this strategy, and for that reason, I'm putting it in the tier with the other decks that have kind of a smattering of tops. Materia Actor. I'm putting Materia Actor in D for Dimax. Oh god, but I'm putting it above Ashen for sure. Materia Actor are strange because I can't really tell if they're an archetype or not. As a series of monsters that enable other better rank 3 engines, like goblin bikers and stuff, they're fine, but they don't do anything at present. And there's not very many of them. Really hard to put my finger on where this is going to end up. Next up is Mimigul. That's going in B. Easy B for Mimigul. Cool deck, fun plays, Peepsian, but not particularly good. Mitsu's going in S tier. Man, I love this archetype so much. Mitsurugi is the answer to my fear that they had forgotten how to make a good TCG archetype after 2016. It is so absolutely bonkers. And the crazy part about Mitsurugi is it's damn fun. Like, I want to be like, oh, it's so oppressively powerful. Oh, it just nullified. It's like a board wipe and maybe making your opponent do a 2-for-1 on a play that doesn't get negated. It's just nice, man. To be clear, there's a significant amount of decks that I think are playable in the TCG right now that weren't playable in the OCG because you couldn't splash Mitsurugi. Love, love, love these cards. And I think their inclusion in the format has made the format so much more interesting as a result. Can you imagine if all Ryziel was doing was like heraldic style hand loops? And make no mistake, the existence of these cards is going to mean that our Jush format may look different than the OCGs did. Like, we may not get to just 1-to-1 copy lists from 3 months ago overseas. To me, that is a very successful TCG archetype. Something that throws a wrench in the gears of stealing lists from people in Japan. Mutant. I'm putting it at the top of D. I mean, I think that it had a couple tops with Sprite, which is like something, but only after the court-ordered piece of legacy support. The Mutant cards are so frustrating to me personally. I don't know why they were like, you need to -4 yourself and take 5 trillion in order to summon a card that's kind of a spell negate. I like them. I think they're awesome. I think they look really cool and do fun shit. But reading Mutant, you just look at it and you go, why the fuck couldn't you all do this? Speaking of decks that do nothing, Dream Mirror, man, it's the only deck I think is really in contention with Ashen. Dream Mirror is so funny for so many reasons. Like, I've never experienced an archetype where not only did everyone know it was bad from the get, but after every single set, people forgot it existed. Like, they were like, right, Dream Mirror, right. Oh shit, is this guy part of an archetype? Oh. There was just like so much going on with his strategy. The cards are like modular. They're good depending on what mirror you have in the field zone, which a lot of cards interact with, but is also pretty easy for your opponent to control as well if they've set up at all. The payoffs you get are not great. Did we ever do any better than the first wave of like Morpheus and Dark Morpheus? Eventually they released like a whole new series of Dream Mirrors. They were like, fuck it, this is going to take more than one card. That's where you get the Neroys et al. And those cards are good. The reason I'm putting it above Ashen is because that sentence included the word game plan. What do I do about Noble Knight? Holy shit. Noble Knight's going in B for me. Noble Knight is just such a hard archetype to talk about because it has done 1,000 different things over the course of its existence, and some of them were good and some were bad. I think it is in B tier, if only because of what it meant. Without Noble Knights, there are no other TCG exclusives. It was the first. Spiral. Probably the greatest TCG archetype of all time. I'm going to walk this back, actually. Spiral, I'm going to put in A. So, like Subtar, but to a degree that exceeded Subtar, Spiral was a good-ass deck. At the release of Double Helix, it was insanely powerful, and it was insanely powerful not one, but 2 other times. People were like blinding second with dangers, which we'll get to in a little bit. People were doing all sorts of nasty-ass shit. There's an argument that like this is what got AFD banned, because they forgot to put a once per turn on their field spell. And the things this deck could do with Link Haribo, man. But Double Helix was the court-ordered piece of OCG support designed to save this archetype. Now, the archetype was still good without Double Helix. It was less good, for sure. I don't want to pretend that it was, like, playable in the capacity that was with Double Helix. But people were tinkering with this archetype around kind of the periphery of the metagame. The cards that made Double Helix good were all the Spiral cards. And the card that made Guru good was Guru. RB. Right now I'm putting him here. I mean, this is all subject to change based on a powerful second wave of support, but this card is not good at present. This deck is really annoying to have to talk about because since there are Earth Machines in it, I know Peeps is going to show me a 45-step combo with 18 box-style Garnets in it that, I don't know, ends on a Brute Bungler alongside the FTK. I think the idea of the archetype is really cool, a la Kaiju. You know, it does something that not a lot of other decks are doing, makes like a little Voltron guy. I just don't think that's good. I want to put Time Thief at the top of C. So the Time Thieves are bad. They're not good. They did get Regulator, which is a really cool card. It's just Rescue Rabbit, right? And to be clear, Redoer itself is a fucking powerful card, but none of the other Time Thieves are worth anything. It's weird. They were like, what people are going to want is Satellar Knight. And all we did was take Trevor and we were like, see ya. I'm going to put Warrock above Dream Mirror, but below Materia Actor. So Warrock is penis bad. It's so funny that like just a couple of years before Tenpai, they were like, we're making Tenpai. Like you can play this in a deck with a bunch of going second staples and just like go Raigeki, 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 normal summon Forsha, and then you win 2 turns later. I still have a Farfa signed Warrock Mountain. He sent me that Master Duel jacket, and with it he sent me a signed copy of Warrock Mountain, and I was like, thanks, I guess. He said, I know you're my biggest fan. It was a funny bit, I'll admit. Tistina is also in D. I'm gonna put it under the Neroi. This deck is bad. It's very bad. FA. Man, we're just talking shit on all the YouTubers today, huh? What are you all questioning me about? Didn't Doug have like 10 tops? Yes! Okay, so talking about FA is really irritating. This is a deck that did have a lot of hype. It's hard to remember now because it's been so long, but at release, people were like, this could be like a powerful combo strategy that people play unironically, and it became pretty clear pretty early that it was not that. This deck is frustrating for a number of reasons. The fact that its best play is basically just make the one macro guy into a macro, and then he's like conditionally a macro depending on what phase it is, and if your opponent didn't draw MST. Definitely the most frustrating part about this deck though is the levels. So a significant amount of these cards can permanently gain levels when you activate FA cards. So you kind of have to notate that somehow, but you can't like put counters on them to impact what level they are. You're permitted, I think, to have a pad next to you with a bunch of numbers on it that maybe notate their levels. And the difference in levels is super important because it's a fucking synchro deck. It's really, really, really difficult to maintain an understanding of what level everything is and perform a synchro, which is necessary because the whole deck is synchros. I am going to put UA in B tier, and you can't stop me. UA whips ass. It's so great. In the great words of Hardleg Gaming, sports, 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 sports. I won my first local with UA, middle of a Burning Abyss format that I had no business being good at. I played against a BA guy in finals and just fucking dunked them into the sun. They read it and they were like, oh, I guess that does work. Valkyrie. Valkyrie was a TCG exclusive? I'm gonna put this in Z tier. These cards are so bad. I think it is. I think I am actually putting it underneath Ashen. Wow. So Valkyrie is really frustrating. It's hilarious that it came out and they were like, these are the cards from the guy who was the big bad of the KC Cup arc. Anyway, they're unfucking playable. Each of these cards like requires you to have other Valkyries on field, so like disrupting your normal ends your turn. You are wholly reliant on pulling a couple of crazy ass spells like Ride and Mischief of the Time Goddess, which they want you to play as part of a 3-card combo that sends the top card of your opponent's deck to the graveyard. The number one thing I remember from this archetype is that it wasn't available on Edo Pro for like 5 years after release because they couldn't figure out how to give you a second battle phase. And then it came out and we were like, yeah, let's play it. We played it once and it was like, this sucks dick. I will say though, Mr. Destructoid, I'm really liking this archetype. It should win the character poll. Vendread. Boy, this one's like impossible to place. Topacy. I really like Vendread. And he clearly has a home in a game where like there's a bunch of zombies that are incredible combo enablers and don't do anything. Like this guy is the thing you could do. I also feel a little kinship with him because Konami stole the idea of this card from me. I had written in a notebook in 2015 my idea for the Hungry Burger Ritual Retrain, which is every individual material used for the burger would endow it with certain abilities. Then they just fucking stole it for like Hound Horde. Burger Story Incoming called it. Fuck you! I can't deny the fact that this has not really had any sort of competitive success. The closest it has gotten is like it's an NR format best deck, and Battle Lord was playable for a brief period in Drytron after Ben 10 got hit. There is that one guy who's totally dedicated to breaking this deck and shows up every 6 months with a new combo that does Cold Fusion, but I don't buy it. Putting the dangers in A, really hard to kind of get a handle on if the dangers are good or not. I think I'm going to put them at like at the top of A too. So yes, check chat's arguing that Danger the deck was bad, but Danger the engine was good. But the Danger engine was like 15 cards. Like, it was just a bunch of free extenders that helped you deep draw. And that's something that no other archetype has really ever filled the shoes of. Like, a million formats defined by the existence of the Dangers, enabling combo decks to go second by just occasionally hitting like Bigfoots or something, and then being responsible for the deep draw and a bunch of Firewall combo decks, enabling a bunch of cards like the Beginning of the End was really popular at their first release. And I like the design on these guys as well. The fact that they're cryptids you kind of have to hunt for in your opponent's hand, that's sick. Round 3, 1 against MathMech 2-0. Nothing really to say. The deck just doesn't really do anything in a Bigfoot. What is he talking about? I'm going to throw Odeon in A as well. I'm going to throw him like right here. Odeon's awesome. Like, this is exactly where I wanted the Odeon support to end up. A playable, tiered deck that doesn't feel like fucking ass to play against, despite the fact that it's trap focused and isn't busted to shit like the Ishizu cards. Really like these cards. Glad they were playable enough to net this archetype a bunch of tops. And now it is basically played nowhere, not because they banned any part of it, but because the format kind of eclipsed him. We'll throw these up here too. Gate Guardian is really bad. I'm going to put it in the top of D. There were some people who were experimenting with it at the very start. Like, Sam has like a fun locals profile that was really cool. And they are like really cool combo cards to play with. That Luke Von Karma Discord list that I played on Master Duel is a blast. I think they did a good job of revitalizing interest in a literal unplayable card, but they are not good at all. Finally, Flame Swordsman. I'll just put it right here as well. It's like they're buddies. Also bad, despite what peeps would tell you. It'd be nowhere without the Zark trap. It is kind of gnarly looking at this and being like, Mitsurugi saved us from a 5-year glut of dog shit TCG releases. Like, all these ones in D are post-COVID. Still time to move that RB up, buddy. All right, just for the people who skipped to the end, let's fuck around a little bit. Now, everyone pretend like this is where we ended up. Yeah, I think this is probably true. I think this is as close as we're gonna get. Thanks for watching.